Hey guys, I'm Tony. Welcome to my shop. Today I have a challenging project. I've got this lovely piece of Bocote. I bought this almost 30 years ago out in California, waxed on the ends, let it dry. As we were moving back up here to Washington, found a big box of blanks that I've been holding on to. So I cut this one down into a box blank. And what we're going to do is make a double box. We're going to put a lid on top. That'll be a suction fit lid that'll pull off. And then we're going to have a hidden lid at the bottom that we're going to be able to insert a hidden compartment into. So we can have like a special storage spot. Maybe the box has just like candy or something, no values. In the bottom, you can open it up and there'll be a little compartment to hide something special. So to do that, I designed and printed a little twist lock part on my 3D printer. And what we'll do is we're going to implant this in the bottom and then we'll glue it all together and should be able to just twist it on and have a little hidden compartment in the bottom that should line up with the grain and everything like that. That's the plan anyway. I've never done this before. It seemed like a fun idea, so I'll see what happens. So we got a little 3D printed deal, got our Bocote blank, and that's about all we're going to need. Okay, I have already marked my centers here on both sides, and I cut this down in the bandsaw. It was about a 10-inch blank, which would have made a nice sized bowl, but it seemed to be the driest piece of timber I had handy. So I'm going to look here. I thought there was a little defect somewhere, a little crack or something. Yeah, it's on this end. So we'll do this end on the bottom. We're going to end up having to make a couple of tenons on here, but the first thing is just to get it round. And Bocote is greasy. It's an oily wood. I haven't turned anything this large. Usually just use it for pen blanks. To be honest, I didn't even know I had a piece of this laying around. So we'll clamp that into the between centers, 4-prong up here, 3-bearing live center at the tailstock end. Got it nice and locked in. We'll go ahead and swap out our tool rests, make sure the power's all the way down and off before we light this up, because I do not want it to go spin crazy. So with the power all the way off, speed to 0, we'll turn the power on and slowly speed it up just to see how it turns. See if we can get a decent spindle speed here. Oh, it's nice and balanced. We're all the way up to 1,000 RPM with no issue. That's a great place to start roughing. Now, I haven't done Bocote, like I said, aside from pen blanks, in decades. So I'm going to sharpen up some tools, get the right tool rest out here, and we'll start by just rounding this off and getting our final dimension here. And then we'll start laying it out for how we want our box to look. Okay, I'm going to start out roughing with this old antique green leaf roughing gouge. So it's a kind of a continental grind, I guess. Somebody can correct me if I got that wrong. Keeps a nice sharp edge. It's well over 100 years old. It's from the 1920s. It's got a terrible tang handle here, but it holds up nice and it's comfortable in my hand. So I've been using this for quite a while. Really like this one, so we'll start out with that. Just for the sake of seeing how it's cutting, felt a few little things flying off, but the Bocote edge here, that's cutting lovely. We haven't hit to the full round there. I got to be careful not to get myself any splinters. This stuff is splintery, but it's very oily. So I'm assuming we'll be doing a lot of tool sharpening. We got a little knot here that blew out. So anyway, basically we're just going to get around. All I'm doing is anchoring, finding the bevel, and then slowly lifting the handle. So one of the kind of tips I could give you here is make sure you're watching the horizon over here. Don't be watching your tool. Once you've anchored, found your bevel, and started to lift the handle and getting a cut, you can watch over here to see. I can see I got a flare here. But all we're doing right now, again, is just trying to get around and kind of appreciate the grain, see if this is going to be a nice straight grain box for the concept we're working on here. If you can, while you're cutting, you want to have that locked to your hip or into your body, and you just kind of use your body weight to move down the length. And you can use your, I trapped myself behind my dust collector. There we go. You can use the edge of your tool rest as kind of a sight line too, to make sure that you're getting a nice straight cut. But the easiest way is going to be to watch this line on the horizon rather than where your tool's landing. Anchor, get the bevel, and start your cut. Just lift that handle for your cut. Okay, and I'm going to move to this mifer. Actually, no, this is a Benjamin's Best, just from a cheap kit. Let's see if we get what kind of cuts we get with that. Same thing, we're going to anchor, find our bevel, slowly lift the handle as we get a cut. All right. Again, I'm not going to touch this while it's spinning because it does tend to want to give me some splinters. Still have a couple flats there, but it's turning very nicely. You can see where we have the wax still on it here, flat there from where I cut it, wax and wax. So I think we're doing pretty well. That's going to be a pretty piece of wood though. Isn't that grain gorgeous? That's some pretty grain. It's still keeping a tip, so let's go and go back to the larger gouge. Okay, I think I could probably get the skew out now to get even better cuts, but we're almost round. Maybe it's a little too early for that, but let me lock this back down and I'll be right back. All right, well, it just happened. After 5 years, the little teeth inside my tool rest post locked down, stripped out, and I couldn't get them back on there. So I'm going to have to either JB weld in a nut there and attach that, figure something out, or give my buddies at Oliver a call and say, hey man, it broke. Can you sell me another one? I think after 5 years, that's pretty good service life for something with the kind of hours I put on this. But, well, let's take care of that and then we'll be back to work. All right, I went ahead and just locked her down with a pair of pliers so we can keep turning. I got out my skew here and I'm going to go ahead and see if we can get this thing rounded off. Anchor, find my bevel. Shift my weight down towards the headstock. Still not round, but I want to see how that cuts. It looks pretty. So our flats up here still. Yeah, we got 2 flats left to deal with. So I'll go ahead and pull those off using the skew real quick. So to make sure that I have a nice straight edge all the way down and that we're flat, so what I do here is just pull a ruler out and we've got a nice flat straight edge. There's no rock or tilt, nothing there. So we're ready to lay that out. Before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and put a tenon on both ends. We'll flatten the end a little bit in, and then we're going to put a little tenon on here. That tenon can't be too big because we need to be able to insert into that. But we'll do a recess on that as well with some big drill bits. Probably. Maybe a box scraper. We'll see. But we're going to need a tenon regardless, and I need to get rid of this little saw cut here. And for that, we're just going to use a little peel cut and a skew. Anchor, find your bevel, and slowly lift that handle. Same thing for the top, so we can hollow out our inside of our box lid. Okay, so we're past that with our box bottom here. I'll be past that little saw cut, which is what we're looking for. I have a little bit of a slope of my tenon, which will be fine for what we're going to try to do. It does cut away a little bit here. That's going to sand beautiful. Beautiful. So I think what we're going to do now is I'm going to set up and sand this down. And go ahead and finish it, and then we'll mark out for our top right here, or maybe right out here. We'll have a nice thick tenon on it to go in, but I would like to keep as much of that grain lined up as we can. So we really want to match where if we scoop out a little bit of grain, we'll still get our points to match up pretty nicely. So that's, I think, what we're going to focus on here. And we'll do a thin a thin cutaway on that. And then we're going to have to pull in for the tenon and get that grain to line up nicely so it'll still be a pretty match. But it'll be a thin cut in with a thin parting tool. And that will get us our establishment for that. And then we'll start our box top and our box bottom, and we'll hand fit those together so we get a good fit. Before we lock those back together on top of here, make sure that's a nice tight fit, maybe even a friction fit so we can get them locked in nice and tight. And then we'll drill our secret compartment down here on our box and then mount the rest of our pieces in wood in there. We're going to texture a bottom piece. I'll probably do it out of Paduke, and we'll put a fancy texture on it so it just looks like an inlay. And depending on how the wood looks, I may put an inlay of Paduke on the top as well so it looks like the two ends are matching. But I think if we hide this one up inside, you won't even see the hidden until it's turned over. And with the texture on it, you're able to put some pressure in to turn your secret compartment out and pressure in to turn it back over. The texture will give you a nice grip, and it'll also be decorative. So I'll put you guys on what I always do, the advanced turbo mode, super sanding, no boredom, speed up, ludicrous speed thingy with bobber. Yeah, that's what we're going to do. We're right back. Okay, and there it is, sanded. There's no finish on there, guys. That is, you saw in the time lapse, that is just sanded to 2000. And that is some beautiful wood. And it's just, I wish you could feel it. It's as smooth as glass. It's like touching a diamond. Just really beautiful wood. Now I'm going to go ahead and wax this. I'm not going to use any of my abrasive grit because I went to 2000, and the abrasive grits are actually a lower rating than that. So all we're going to do is use our Shop Shine, which I've had a couple requests for doing a video on how I make my Shop Shine and how I apply it. So I'll be working on that this weekend and get that out there for you. There's a lot of folks who make it. Everyone's got their own kind of system and recipe. I've been really happy with mine. So all we're going to use, just about that much. It's not a ton. And we're going to apply it in reverse. Got it running at 1500 RPM right now. Just going to melt it in. See the grain kind of pop and where some of the cross grain looks. Building up a little bit of heat. Moving it down to the edges here. Make sure that I'm getting all of the wax, all of the mineral oil in there. This is a waxy, oily wood anyway. Now again, that is polished wood. Beeswax, mineral oil, and a little bit of carnauba's in that blend. And that is what our box will look like. I see we have a knot right here, so that might be just below that, the top portion of our box. I think that would probably be the best way to do it. And for the depth of our box for a little hidden compartment, it's only going to be about 1 inch deep, but we don't need a huge hidden compartment in that. We want, when you pick it up, we still want you to look inside and go, oh, it's a nice deep box, when you slide the lid off and not know there's a hidden compartment. So I think that's our plan. Our next stage then is going to be to go ahead and part this off just under that knot. That will be our parting spot there. And that we will have a nice thick piece up here to work with. We'll just back hollow that out to give it a nice round top. And after we establish our tenon on this end, we'll fit the lid so it's a perfectly tight fit. A little bit of a taper so it sets nice and flush. We don't want too long of a tenon because we'll lose too much of this grain match, which I think is going to be a beautiful part of this piece. So let's get all set up for that. I'll be right back. Okay, we'll part this off 800 RPM just like we planned. we should be able to get our saw in there and clean that off, but I think we could probably pull a little bit more if I lower the tool rest a bit. No point in sawing more than I gotta, right? Okay, I think we are ready to attack that with just a back saw. And once we get that cleared out there, we'll be able to mount these two pieces independently in our chucks, and we'll drill into this one first. So I can, well, we'll have to flip this around, core that out, expand the chucks into that so we can drill this side. We'll have a nice flat surface. And we're only gonna, like I said, drill in an inch, inch and a quarter here so we can get everything going. And then we'll clean out that inside, maybe even do a little hidden decoration. That might be cool. And then we'll establish a little tenon for this and pop the two together. I think that'll work. Okay, got it sawed off. Got a little extra on this side because we sawed up against this edge, but it turned out nice, even, flat. So I think we look pretty good there. That is some beautiful wood. It's almost a shame to cut that away into a box down there, but on the outside, look what we got. Totally worth it. So let's get that mounted up on some chucks and start our box process. Now, obviously a smaller bit works here, so let's just go ahead and try that first. Stop right there, just get a measurement here. Yep, there's going to be some sanding to do, but we are just under 3/4 of an inch, so I'm going to pull myself back to 3/4 on my quill here. Push that in. We'll know we're at an inch when we get to an inch. That's an inch deep. Now we're going for another 1/4 and an 1/8, inch and a 1/4. Okay. So knowing that we have almost full 2 inches here, a little over 2 inches, going an inch and a 1/4 deep here, and we nailed it right on there. Gives us room to hollow that top out in there a little bit so it can get rid of the little dot from the Forstner bit. Ooh, these are really pretty. I wonder if I could do something with that. I might be pretty in epoxy or something. Well, I like it. And then from there, I can use a box end scraper to now come out to the edge we want to fit perfectly to our base bottom when we cut our tenon. So from here, now that we have the basic diameter here, we'll still step this down quite a bit to fit our tenon, but we want to do that when we make our tenon so we can get a perfect fit. In the meantime, we can clear out this bottom and sharpen up the shoulder up here. When we step this in, we're going to step it in at an angle so we get a nice tight fit on our tenon down there. We'll get a little bit of a pop is what we're going to go for. So I'm going to go ahead and clean up a little bit of what we have going on here, swap out and sharpen up. We'll probably just use, well, for that edge, we're getting square edge there. We're going to have to use the square and box scrapers. So I'll put a nice edge on that, and to get rid of that dimple in the middle, unless we decide we want to do something really crazy like another inlay. An inlay. I happen to have this lovely piece of honey locust. Might be a little too loud though. Yeah, I think that might be loud. What do you think? A little too loud? I think that'd be cool. I don't think anyone would ever notice it though. Might be cool. Oh, we'll think about that. But kind of neat that we could do something like that if we wanted to. Like just a hidden inlay in there might be a cool feature. But let me go ahead and sharpen up the box scrapers and we'll get to work. Okay, we've got our tool rest set up nice and high so we can get that edge onto our box scraper and make a straight pass in with the handle just slightly elevated. And that should get us down to the bottom. Once we clean up that corner, we'll go ahead and take care of that inside. Get the speed up here a little more comfortable. We're at 1,000 RPM. Whoa, got a random catch there. What was that a catch on? Does it catch on? Nothing. Okay, well, we cleaned up that corner. We got a nice tight corner in there now. Let's go ahead and blow that out so you can see better. Did feel that catch. And we didn't pull up anything. Nice and smooth, beautiful wood. So now I'm going to go ahead and lower the tool rest, use a small bowl gouge, and we'll just round this out to the corner. And that will be our step in for our top. And again, we're going to take this back out, expand the jaws in here, and round off that top and decorate it in some fashion. I haven't gotten to that point. I'm still all brain focused on getting the hidden compartment right. While we're here, I'm going to go ahead and flatten off this top just a little bit. And for that, we will use a 1/2-inch bowl gouge. I'm just going to come inside. Just see how it cuts. That's the real deal there. It does not want to... just want that nice and flat. Still see a line up here, which is from our original parting tool. So I'm going to have to get that out. Just using the right wing of the tool like a scraper here. Wood scrapes beautifully. Let's see if that got rid of it. I still see a little bit of it there. Now, can I feel it or only see it? No, I can still feel it. So we're going to have to, I want that scraped all the way off. Don't want to mess up our nice grain line. Okay, there we go. And you know we're going to be coming in from that to do our fit. So let's go ahead and drop the tool rest. Sorry, my mask was on too tight for you to hear me probably. And we're going to get drop down inside here if we can. Just make sure we're not scraping on anything. Nope, not be able to do it from inside. We're going to have to do it from outside. So we'll just get nice and centered in here, away from the face, lock that down, and we will take some light passes out from the inside. Again, it's on end grain, so we may have to go straight to a scraper, which would be kind of like a small carbide. But let's see if we can just clean that up with traditional tools first. Whoa, careful with that. See if that catch did any damage. It did not. Just knocked me right off the tool. So what I'm trying to do is get rid of that little center dip there, and we're almost through it. Once that's gone, then we'll round out the rest of the scraper. From there, we should be able to, oh yeah, that's nice. Still a little bit of a dent there I don't like. So I'm going to work that out a little bit. And let me see if I can do that with a round carbide. You can feel the grab on the cross grain there. There is a little tear out right there, so that's a spot that I'm going to have to work around. So that's not that big a deal. We just got to take our time, and you can see from where you're at, there's where our tear out is. So we're going to have to get past that with very small, smooth cuts. And if we can, we'll just go ahead and come into that with the box scraper. Once we know we're past the tear out, and I can take a smooth, simple pass. Pretty good there. It's very interesting cutting into this end grain. It really is catchy. But it is also very beautiful. So worth the effort, I think. Okay, we get that corner's cleaned up. There's no tear out. We have a ready to sand there, and all we have to do now is smooth that one little area there. And that shouldn't be too tough. Really can't see it from angle. Have to take a closer peek. You can still see the dot in the very middle, and it has nothing to do with the drill. So maybe we can, just don't want to thin this out too much. Still have about 3/4 of an inch. So that's plenty of material there. But I would like to get that just perfect. So let's see if we can get rid of that ugly little dot. Close. I'm going to try something completely silly. I'm actually going to get out a 2-inch disc with some 80 grit and see if that sands nicer than we're getting against this heavy grain. The grain is so beautiful. I don't want to tear it up. I don't have any tear out right now, but I got some seriously uneven marks that I'm not happy with. So it'd be easier to see if that's sandable. I'm not finding a tool that's not wanting to catch and grab hold of stuff there. And I still have a little lip in there that I have to take care of. So worst comes to worst, I'll actually get out my hollowing tools. I still have a nice little edge on this square end carbide, so I'm going to line that up and see if we can at least take care of that corner down there. If I can get into this corner and feel confident that that is gone, the rest won't bother me. But I don't like the look we have right now. And that's not going to do. It's not going to do. Well, the dog thinks it worked. Let's see if it's true. Okay, we still have one little lip, but only on one side. Has it gone a wee bit oval? So I can feel it right there. I'm going to give it another shot. Give some pressure on the side. I didn't feel any wobble. And now it's gone. Okay, that's better. I know no one will ever see that but me, but I could not stand the thought of that not having a nice tight, clean bottom there. All right, so now let's go ahead and try if we can sand that just to give it a nice texture, or get rid of that texture that's in there right now. And I'll probably hit up Tomislav, one of my friends who's really good at these end grain boxes, and see what I did wrong to get that, to not be able to get into that end grain. I got a little 2-inch disc with some 80 grit. I think that'll probably clean that up for us. After how nice it cut on the outside with the skew, I was kind of surprised. Turn on the noisemaker. Okay, you can probably see there how gummy that wood is, so it just gums up right there. So we'll go through probably a couple sheets of paper. Oh no, that's pretty nice. I see one little marker I don't like, and that's about it. So that actually sanded great into the ungrain. So that's a win. Let's keep going that route, and I'll bring you back when we're ready to do the next half. Okay, I've set up to start drilling the hole on the inside of the box. I'm starting with a large 1-inch drill bit. We're going to go down 2.5 inches, and then we'll move out into our various size Forstners till we get to a spot where we're happy. Clean up the bottom. I'm using this round tip this time to make the bottom clean up a little bit easier. And then after we have that established, we'll start cutting our tenon, and we'll fix our top here, which we already cut our step into. So this will be the diameter we're going to turn down to. And once we get that perfectly fitted, we'll be ready to put that together, round off the top, and then work on our secret compartment part, which might be the only part of this video I actually post. Now that I think about it, I don't know how exciting any of this was. I just keep scratching my head half the time going, what's going wrong? What's going wrong? Here we go, though. Let's see if we can get an easy hole into this Bocote. There we are. So we got our pilot hole so we can drill out, kind of get the majority of this hogged out here with Forstner bits. Instead of trying to get in there with box scrapers, I'm finding this wood with all the density and the oils to be very catchy when I'm trying to end grain hollow it. I'm only able to take teeny little pieces at a time and eventually end up with a catch. So I'm going to keep going with the drill bits till we get out to here, and then we will get our tenon. And I already set the depth for that. Where do I put it? Here we go. So the tenon's been set for a depth here of just under 10 millimeters. Let's call it 8 millimeters deep which in the other side of the world is like 5/16, right? Yeah, 5/16 deep roughly. Now we'll get that perfectly tight, so this is a nice tight fit before we addressed any of the decorative components or our secret compartment. That's the next step of the process, at least the way I'm thinking it out. So I'll keep moving up in drill bit sizes till I think up to the 60 millimeter, then the rest we have to do by good old-fashioned hand. So I'll keep moving up and hope that the next one works a little better than the last one. And keep your fingers crossed for me, guys. Right, we are ready to try to start the tenon on this. We know that our tenon only needs to be 8 millimeters deep, so we'll go with 6 millimeters will be our goal. And we're just going to take small little passes on it until we get to a spot where we can start a nice tight fit with some friction. So let's start out with a square end carbide chisel. Got my mask on and I'm cranking the speed up now a bit. About 1,000 RPM, and we're just going to come in just the outside edge here. We know that's going to be way too big, but we just want to see where our lines are going to be. We'll keep coming at it. Okay, we have got our top fitted now. During all of that, even though our grains lined up pretty nicely, we still have a slight mismatch just from the woods. Obviously, we lost that space there, and then we slid the wood over that. So we have that going against us in terms of trying to get a perfect match. But we also have just a teeny bit. I would say it's not even a 64th, but I can feel it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the tailstock support up, and I'm going to go ahead and re-sand so we have a perfectly flush around here. Even though we did all that work to get this up to 2,000, I'm just not going to be happy with that little line. And I might actually end up putting a small V groove in that spot. Might do that before we actually do the sanding, because the V groove will give it like a delineation, also a place you can put your fingernails under to pull it off. And then we'll work on rounding off the top up here, because we won't need that tenon anymore. And then we'll flip it around and start working on the secret compartment, because that's really what you're here for, right? The secret compartment. You don't care about this nonsense with just making a box. Anyone can make a box, but we'd really like to get that down right. So let's go ahead and line up with a three bearing live center here into our hole. Sorry, you're going to have to move you just a little bit here. Make sure we're nice and tight. Not to put too much pressure on that, but I do want to keep it there while we work on adding a V-groove on this side. Still have a really nice concentric roll here. See, it's separated out a bit here. When I spun it up, the centrifugal force pushed it out, which is interesting. But I still feel like yeah. All right, so we'll want to put a little bit more force on that before we get down to the actual fun parts here. This feels like, see, I got these lines right here. These are the ones I like the best. But you line those three up, then everything else goes off kilter, wackadoodle. Okay, but we're in a good spot there, so I'm going to go ahead and put some more pressure in there. Let's spin it up and see if that stays in line. It feels really concentric, just that one spot there. So I'm going to sharpen up my V-groove tool, and I'm going to put just a little V-groove right there. So we have a little delineation, and then we can sand that down nice. For that, I'm just going to use a shop-made point tool here, and I've already got a perfect tip from yesterday's project. So I'm going to make sure you guys can see what I'm about to do. Looks like you can. And then I'm going to put my face mask on, because this is the part where it can blow apart my face. See if a V-groove solves our problem. So I'm just coming in right on the edge there. Lifting my handle. A slight rotation to the left, and a slight to the right. It should give us a little delineated groove there, but I still don't care for it. I don't like it. I don't think that's a good look at all. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the trouble of sanding all that flat again. Although make sure nothing's moving around. Now it's on there pretty tight, people. It's on there tight. I don't know what to tell you. See if we can loosen up a little bit and rotate it if it looks better when it's just sitting there without any compression pressure on it. Something springy there. Oh, gravity. Gravity's so springy. Yeah, actually that looks pretty good. So what I'll do here is I'm going to go ahead and clean this up a little tighter with some sandpaper and a little bit deeper on the groove, and then we'll get ready for our secret compartment. All right, there we go. That'll loosen up a little bit there, which is what we wanted. But we get some nice line up here on the grain. It's attractive, and that V-groove will delineate and give it a nice little separation so you don't just see a mismatch of the grain. So actually, before I take all that off, there's a couple ways we could do that. It's probably better at this point for me to just put it directly into the chuck. We'll have to expand the chuck on the inside of this so that we can go ahead and round off our top and give us a nice design up there. And then we'll obviously have to resand again. And then on this section, we're almost ready. While I have it in here, I should probably go ahead and sand and take up care of the inside. So I'll go ahead and do that off camera. You guys have seen enough sanding for today. But I'll go ahead and clean this up, clean up the bottom, sand it and oil it, and then we'll flip it around and start the secret compartment.